Welcome to the Stick and Puck Fantasy Hockey League's week number 18 recap, brought to you by Altoids, curiously strong mints. Let's get right into the matchups. First, we have Team 1 versus Lenny's Legends. Remember, this was the marquee matchup. It was Lenny's Legends, also known as Lenny's Love Letters, winning the matchup 137.1 to 128.9. That score of 137.1 is a new record in the history of Stick and Puck Fantasy Hockey League. It's also the fourth time that the Legends have posted a score in the 130s. MVP of the match, well, this Day 1 tells the story. 18.2 to 3.5. We go down to the bottom. That was the result of a shutout, mostly the result of a shutout by Igor Shesterkin. He is the MVP, surprisingly, for the Legends in Week 18, posting 14 fantasy points. Going up and looking at Team 1, it was a big week from Evan Bouchard, 13.5 fantasy points. However, Adam Henrique was inserted into the lineup to provide a spark. He did not do that, though, with only 1.7 fantasy points. Brady Tkachuk got off to a strong start. 11.2 is the end result for him. 11.2 also for Carter Verhaeghe. And quite a few strong numbers here, 11.9 for Nathan MacKinnon. As well, the goalies were fairly solid, 8.6 and 6.2 for the goalie tandem for Team 1. Looking at Team Lenny's Legends, Schmaltz on the low hand, he was put in the lineup because of the Coyotes playing 4 games, but he only posted 1.4 points. Duchesne had 14, but he's not the MVP. As mentioned, Shesterkin is the MVP. The goalies for the Legends combined were 22.6 points. That was the second highest point total for a goalie tandem this week. Let's go on to the next matchup. Forest Hills Flames versus Egg United. And it was, surprisingly, the Flames winning 113.7 to 87.7. I say surprisingly because this was the only prediction that I got wrong in week number 18. I was 4-1, but I picked Egg United. Flames, maybe that was bulletin board material for them. They get the victory. You look at the days, the points per day. The Flames got up to a bit of a lead on day 1, but it was fairly close until you get to these next few days. Valentine's Day. Flames really loved that day, 11.3 to 0.6. They continued that on the following day, and it was just too much of a lead to overcome for Egg United. Looking at who might be the MVP, we're going to give that to Matthew Tkachuk, 15.3 points. Nico, former Moosehead, also with a big total, 14.1. As well as Suzuki, 12.2. Wyatt Johnson, 10.4. And Sealer, surprisingly, 10.3. The goalies, they weren't great, but somehow provided Flames with enough points to win. Ottinger had 7.4, but Aiden Hill had negative 4.2. Looking at Eggs goalies, not much to talk about here. Negative 2.4 for Skinner, 4.4 for Saros, 2 points combined. The low performer, Sebastian Aho, with 0.4 points. Top performer for Egg United was William Nylander, 12.1, also getting 10.7 from McAvoy. And so it was the Flames, continuing their hot streak with the victory. Who's up next? Let's go to how is this happening versus the Danglers. And the Danglers win big, 120.8 to 88.9. It was close for the first 3 days, but then look at day number 4, 42.4 to 18.4. And that really was it for how is this happening. They did do pretty good on the 17th, but Danglers came back on the final day of the week. So, big win for them. They needed to get back on track. Let's look at Hith, how they did. Surprisingly, I'm using that word quite a bit, I realize, but Reimer, you need to use it for this performance. Reimer, who hadn't played in a long time, I think, gets 14.6 points. And Talbot, 4.8. So 19.4 points for the goalies, a very good number. After not really getting any goalie minutes, I think they might not have got any goalie minutes the week before. I could have been dreaming that, but their goalies, we know, have not played very many games. Top performer, other than Reimer for the Hith, is, not surprisingly, Kucherov with 11.5. You might not expect this, but Tavares only got 0.5 points. Other than that, not really much to say. Only 2 double-digit performers, Reimer and Kucherov for Hith. Looking at the Danglers MVP, as he often is Hellebuyck with 17.4. This was the top goalie tandem. I'm really realizing now my picture is in the way of some of these numbers. 17.4, 7.4 for the Pittsburgh goalie for a total of 24.8. That was, if I didn't mention it already, the top number for goalie tandems in the league in Week 18. Looking at some of the top performances, Vincent Trocheck, 13.7. Morrissey, though, only had 1 fantasy point. And McDavid, this is notable, McDavid and Giroux. McDavid with 12, Giroux with 10.3, 22.3 points combined. Once again, for the second week in a row, they win the Connor McDavid trade. Pasternak had 7.4, Makar had 4.9 for a total of 12.3. So the Danglers duo had 10 more points than the Legends duo. So the trade, surprisingly, has worked out 2 out of 3 weeks for the Danglers. Next is the Mustachios versus Skill Stick Fail. 122.9 to 78.9. This was a blowout. A big Saturday. Look at this Saturday, the 17th. 40.9 to 15.6 points. First, let's look at the Mustachios. Who was the MVP? You might think Austin Matthews was 17.6 points, but you would be wrong. The MVP was UPL with 19.6 points, providing them more than enough goalie points, picking up the slack for Ullmark with the negative 1.4. Any other performers of note? We will say that Atkinson was the low performer with 1.3. I believe the team has dropped Atkinson since Week 18. Travis Konecny had 12.7 points. And no other players in double digits, but a solid performance all around. Let's look at the Tacos. 11.4. Darlene was the top performer. The goalies didn't do too much. 4.4 points combined. And what you notice from the Tacos this week, a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s. Surprisingly, Miller with only 3.7 points. Who were their second and third top performers? Well, it was 2 players that they traded away. Brandon Montour with 9.2 and Mitch Marner with 7 points. Final matchup was, and this was a toss-up in the prediction segment of last week's recap, Staying Alive versus Slayentine's Day, otherwise known as Slay All Day. Slay All Day, as I predicted, were the winners, 110.2 to 102.4. Now, Slay All Day got off to a lead in this one, as you see, the first 3 days, but day number 4, the 15th, 44.7 to 18.8 in favor of Staying Alive. So it was really a great comeback. No points the next day. 5 more points for Slayentine's Day on Saturday. Really set them up for the final day. 12.6 to 0.6. They had the manpower advantage on that final day, and they were able to get a fairly stress-free win on that Sunday. Looking at the player performances for Staying Alive, Montreal Canadian Slavkovsky. I don't know if I've ever heard his name pronounced. Slavkovsky is how I'll say it. 14 points. A big week for Decord with 10, though the other goalie, Urson, had a negative score, negative 3.4. Low performer, I believe he's the captain, Brock Besser, with only 1.8 points. Who was the MVP for Slay All Day? It was G, as I like to call him, Joel Eriksson Ek, JEE, with 12.2 points. It was a successful return for Jack Hughes, 11.4 points, the top draft pick, I believe, for Slay All Day. Any other double digits? Nope, none for the skaters, but there is for the goalies. Their other goalie, Vivi, was injured all week, so Bobrovsky had to pick up the slack, and he did. 10.6 points. 9.7 for Dobson. He also almost made it into double digits. Low performer, Tricky Nicky Paul, with 1.4 points. So those are your matchups. Let's take a little stroll through the ESPN Fantasy Hockey website. Let's go to the standings. Get an update. Team 1 has lost 2 games in a row, but they're still first in the Prince of Wales division, 12-6. But only 1 game up on the Mustachios, who I believe have won. We'll see it in a moment. Well, I'll look down here. They've won, 2 in a row. So they've picked up 2 games in the last 2 weeks. Both teams have a 99% chance of playoffs. So that's not a concern, but the Mustachios would really like that first week bye. So, first round bye. So that'll be a situation we will be monitoring closely. How is this happening? After winning 1, after losing several, loses another. They're now 9-9, 3 games back, 67% chance at the playoffs. Now the Flames have been winning. 6-12, they're up, same record as Staying Alive, who really had high hopes for the playoffs not too long ago, 2 weeks ago, but now 6-12, both of them only have a 2% chance of the playoffs. Over in the Clarence Campbell division, Lenny's Legends have clinched the division and a first round bye, 15-3. 100% chance, obviously, of the playoffs. Slayentine's Day, we'll call them Slay All Day. Now second, 9-8, and that tie. 5.5 games back. They can't win the division, but they have an 86% chance of making the playoffs. Egg United, we thought they'd win. They lost. 9-9 now. They're going back and forth, winning, losing. 6 games back. I shouldn't really even mention that because no one can win the division other than Lenny's Legends. They still are favored to get a spot in the playoffs, though. 78% chance. The Danglers were winners. They're 8-9-1. 67% chance of the playoffs. And here we have Skillstick Fail, 4-14. 0% chance of the playoffs. The first E. next to their name. So, summing it all up, we've got 6 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 teams, I meant, who are hoping for the playoffs, who have a reasonable chance of making the playoffs. Right now, how is this happening? And Doketown Danglers both have a 67% chance of getting that final playoff spot. We'd have to favor the Danglers since they're at least editing and making moves to help the team, whereas how is this happening is on, as we've said, autopilot. So you would think that the Danglers would take that at least the 6th spot in the playoffs, though they could even get by Egg United and Slay All Day if they perform well. Let's go down here. This was requested once before. The season stats. My team, Legends, is highlighted because I'm signed into that account. But you look at goals, we'll just look at the top 3 for each category. Team 1 still in the lead, Mustachios second, and the Legends third. Assists, Legends first, Danglers second, Team 1 third. Power play points, Team 1 is leading, Legends second, and the Flames are up there in third spot. Shorthanded points, they're hard to come by. The Mustachios, though, have the most, 21. Then you have Slay All Day and Skill Stick Fail. Shots on goal. Team 1 has a big lead in this one. Second is the Legends and the Danglers third. Hits, Skill Stick Fail. Just like in regular real hockey, hits often do not lead to or are a good indicator of success. Skill Stick Fail leads the league in hits. Egg United second, the Flames in third. Block shots worth 0.5. This is a big one in our league. The Mustachios are racking up the hits. You think about the Prince of Wales division. Maybe this tells a bit of the story. The Mustachios are leading while Team 1 is way down here, 200 and so hits. You do the math. What is that, 100 points? It's the Mustachios. How is this happening? And Egg United. Goalie wins. Legends are in the lead. Slay All Day, and then Team 1. Goals against, well, hits. Goalies hardly ever play, so they're kind of cheating in this category. But they're first, the Danglers second, and the Flames third. Saves. Team 1 leads here. Then it's Egg United and Legends. I was going to mention here goals against. The Team 1 has by far the most saves, but they've given up the most goals. So you might want to do a deep dive into that. Might be an interesting little story or article on what's going on with the goalies. They must be playing. He must be getting a lot of starts, a lot of minutes facing teams that are peppering them with shots. But I thought that was a little interesting tidbit. Shutouts. Look here, we have, I won't say the number, but we have 3 teams leading with the same number. The Mustachios, Team 1, and the Legends. Overtime loss. The Legends don't lose very often in overtime, only 2 losses, while the Mustachios have the most, 15. But next, Slay All Day and Egg United. Going over, and I realize you won't be able to see the bottom teams here in each column, but points for, Legends are still in the lead. Team 1 regains second spot here, the Mustachios third. Maybe it's notable to talk about more than just the top 3 here. Danglers are 4th, Egg United 5th, Slay All Day 6th, Flames 7. How is this happening? 8, though they're 6th in the league. And staying alive back down here at number 9. And skill stick fail, number 10. Points against, still Lenny's Legends has the fewest number of points. Team 1 drops down to 3, probably because the Legends put up a record number against them in Week 18. So it's the Mustachios second, Team 1 third. Again, we keep noting the two bad luck clubs down here, the Danglers and United, where they're up near the top. Well, 4th and 5th in points for, but they're down here 8 and 9 in points against. Who are the hottest clubs? Legends have won 6 in a row. The Flames have won 3. And the Mustachios, as mentioned earlier, have won 2 in a row. Who is on a losing streak? Staying Alive now lost 2 in a row after I think they had won 5 in a row. Team 1, surprisingly, has 2 losses in a row. And Skill Stick Fail with 3 losses in a row. If you're curious about the moves, Staying Alive has made the most moves. Do we want to look at anything else? Let's look at this week's matchups. For my marquee matchups and then predictions, we'll end it on that. First, we have the Legends versus Forest Hills Flames. That's not the marquee matchup. Egg United versus How Is This Happening? That's not the marquee matchup. We have at the bottom, Slay All Day versus Team 1. An interesting one, but that's not the marquee matchup. Skill Stick Fail versus Staying Alive. 2 teams that have almost 0% chance. Well, Skill Stick Fail does. Staying Alive has 2% chance of making the playoffs. This is not your marquee matchup. The marquee matchup is the Danglers versus the Mustachios. The Mustachios are looking to win 3 in a row. Maybe combined with a Team 1 loss, they would vault up into a tie for first place in the division. The Danglers are looking to secure a playoff position. It's close. So that is your marquee matchup, the Danglers versus the Mustachios. We'll keep an eye on that one. But now, finally, the predictions for week number 19. Legends versus the Flames. As you see, we already have the scores partway through, or mostly through, day number 1 of week 19. So perhaps we're cheating a little bit on this. Legends versus Flames, you know I always pick the Legends, so we're going with the Legends, even though they won't be too motivated. They're cruising right now to the playoffs, but we want to keep them going and hot, getting into the playoffs, not cooling off. Next, Egg United versus How Is This Happening? You can see that the scores are going up even as I speak. 24.8 to 16.8. Eggs leading. Again, this is kind of cheating, but I'm going to go with Egg United. That's who I was going to go. I forgot to mentally prepare for the predictions prior to the starts of the games, but I would have went with Egg United in this one. Danglers versus Mustachios. This, like the one versus Slay All Day and Staying Alive, really is a toss-up for me. And I haven't really looked at the goalies and how many games each team is playing and all of that. I'm going to go with the Mustachios, though. And that is one that I'm not too sure about. Skill Stick Fail versus Staying Alive. I would have went with Staying Alive, so I'm going to stick with that, even though it looks like Skill Stick Fail might win this one after this a pretty big day number 1, Monday. So even though I see that, I'm going to stick with what I would have said, Staying Alive. Finally, Slayentine's Day. They haven't changed back to their regular name, Slay All Day versus Team 1. I'm going to go with Team 1 to bounce back after 2 losses. I know Slay All Day is coming off a big win and got 11 points from Jeek, but I'm going to have to, and the goalies for Team 1 have got off to a fairly good start, or at least their teams have. So, again, going with team number 1. So, I don't think there's anything else to say. Sorry for not having the slides all day. The slide guy went away. He's on vacation. So, this is the next best thing. Tell me if you prefer this version or a combination of the two. I know we all like those graphs, but I think also it's nice to see the numbers below as is at the top of the matchup. So maybe if we could combine the graphs with the numbers, that would be the best of both worlds. Maybe you could send messages to the slide guy for ways to improve those graphs to make them more informational and telling us exactly what has happened on each day. But anyways, I'm starting to ramble, so we'll wrap this up. Thank you for watching. The recap of week number 18, and good luck everyone in week 19, except the Flames. Good luck.